For the longest time, I really didn't have the words to describe what is currently going on all across the world. People just kind of report things being flat and without meaning or purpose. And it seems to kind of not just be a United States phenomena, but a global phenomena. It almost feels like modernity is erasing love. With crisis after crisis, people are constantly on edge. And it just seems like things that used to be easy are incredibly hard. You know, I'm 53. I remember what it used to be like before technology came on the scene and everything was shallow. I remember what it was like to be able to have meals with my family and be present and just really embrace life fully. Now it kind of feels like everything is really flat, and bland or more lifeless. And, you just can't really put your finger on it. But, today I was watching this movie with Jim Carrey, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And it's kind of like a little rom-com thing where he falls in love with this girl. They get into a fight, and she decides to go to a mind eraser lab, erases him, and, just forgets about him and is just making out with another guy the next day. And he's all heartbroken by it. So he decides to get his mind erased. But midway getting his mind erased, he decides he loves her and does not want to lose her. So they go on a bunch of different adventures together, all in his mind, to avoid to be getting his mind erased. In the end, they kind of somehow pull it off, and he reconnects with her, and they fall in love all over again. And that's kind of like the way it's supposed to be in a way. It's supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be like a job interview when you go out on a date with somebody and the genders seem to be so far apart. Like men are scared, women are scared, and it's not fun to date at all. It's just like more of a job interview. I remember what it used to be like when I was younger. It was just, everything just flowed. It was just natural. It was easy. It was effortless. You would like to be around each other. Now it's just like people have had so many different hurts and pains that they want to have all these rules and all this other stuff and all these things. And man, I just really hope people can let go of that and, just not give up. Their love does exist. And, I believe it's worth it. And it is something that you can obtain. It's not like some pie in the sky aspirational goal. It's something that's real and it's tangible. And when people just, forgive and let go of their hurts and their pains and, allow somebody else in, lower the walls, lower the pride, and stop blaming the other for something that happened to everybody globally, which is really what happened. It's not anybody's fault. It's not man's fault. It's not woman's fault. Bunch of stuff happened to bring us to this point in time. And, the question is like, how are you going to respond? I think that we have what it takes. I really do. I believe that we have what it takes, that we can meet this moment well with grace and humility. And I believe that we can overcome what's going on. But we got to work together. No matter what your political thing is or your religious thing, you got to let go of all your baggage and just start seeing people as human beings, made in the image of God and worthy of respect for that, and just be humble, under God. Nobody as great as him. And that's how we were all used to get along years ago, is that we understood that God was the greatest. So all this stuff that's happening now with all the jealousy, envy, and pride, and everybody coveting everybody else's thing like you see on the socials all the time, we didn't have that. It was easy. And it didn't really matter what frickin' job you did or how much money you made, because we all could agree on that basic fact that, compared to God, we're dirt and we're insignificant. And if you really want true love in a relationship, you got to find a way to humility with yourself, with others. Let go of that hurt. Let go of the pain. Forgive your mother. Forgive your father. Forgive the teachers. Forgive the pastors. Forgive all the people that lied to you and hurt you, sometimes for your whole lifetime, and just let it go. You got to let it go. I saw this lady, she was having trouble with modernity and went to Asia or something, and I'm watching her videos and I'm like, I don't blame you for wanting out of this chaotic system that we created. Like, I don't believe we were meant to be connected to media all the time, or have these parasocial relationships or friendships or whatever you want to call it. I don't like it. I deleted all my social media. And, I got a couple close friends that I talk to, and I'm good with that. I don't really need a whole bunch of people. And I'm not interested in people that aren't willing to connect with me in person. I just think it gets really weird. And I just don't want that. And I don't see why people are settling for that. It's not good. You need human connection. You need to get together with people in person, face to face, and, have real conversations with people. That's what we were created to do. We weren't created to live this isolated type of lifestyle where everybody is just atomized. People need each other. Men and women, I do believe that you can survive. Yeah, sure. You can survive, but can you thrive? That's really what it comes down to. Like, I really believe that, men and women are different and they both bring beautiful ingredients together. And I want to see people be able to have that again. I want people to have meaningful connection. I want people to have purpose. And like, all the different stuff that's out there is just really promoting rage, over everything else. It's promoting pride, promote selfishness. And what we really need to do is promote humility. We need to find a way to be humble without smashing somebody down. Or I'm going to teach them a lesson, or this, that, or that doesn't work. People don't learn that way. People need to really spend some time alone with God or whatever you believe in, and really self-reflect, and own their part in the current situation that's going on, because we all created this together. Either, implicitly or explicitly. We did it intentionally or just by not doing anything about it. So we got to change things for the better for all of us. This isn't really a sustainable situation for a lot of people. People are, just want to check out. That's not good. And they're a lot younger than me, and they're giving up. We can't have that. It's like people aren't willing to have babies, and, some of it's because of skill gaps, masculine leadership skills to lead the family, but also you got to have two people that are in it. You can't have the one person carry the whole thing. You got to be in it together. You have to have both people be responsible adults and say, I want this relationship thing more than the other things. And that means giving up stuff. And a lot of people don't want to give up stuff. They don't want rules. They want to, just go after pleasure. And it seems like maybe 90% of the people fall into that category where they don't want the rules or any of that stuff. Hey, that's all right. But there's 10% of the people out there, they still want something different. And that's really why I'm doing this. It's for those people. It's for those people to have some sort of hope for the future. And, just really opting out of this whole, rage economy that we got going on, this limbic economy that's just based upon happiness, and dopamine hit after dopamine hit, and to move towards purpose Purpose will give you happiness and meaning. And people found that through God. They found it through relationships, marriage, and children. And, you see people moving away from that stuff. I think that there's more people who would want it, but they just don't know how to get there. So it's like, that's really what this podcast is all about. It's about, taking that ancient wisdom that we always knew, we always understood, and making it practical and actionable for our lives. And that's what we need. I think that, yeah, the black pill stuff has valid points. It really does. It's really bad. But I do believe that in hope too. Sure, talk about the bad things, but have a plan to get out of the bad things. That's what a man does. He doesn't say, oh, my car's broken down, what do I do? No, he changes the tire. If he can't change the tire, he calls AAA. If he can't do that, he figures it out. And that's really what we got to do with this situation right now. We got to figure it out. For everybody. For our common good, for our common welfare, we got to really find a way to opt out. Maybe that means for some of you completely unplugging for digital, getting a flip phone. I don't know. Getting one or two in-person friends or something. A lot of you don't have that. Get it. Make it a priority to do that stuff. And, things will change. Like, I don't want to dunk on online people or influencers or people that just live online because, I was doing that myself for a long time. I've done the online thing. I've ran online groups and, I was super active. I had a lot of people who I thought were my friend, but, the minute you delete the socials, you never hear from them again. And it just really goes to show you it's just like kind of a fake thing based on convenience. But if you want something real, you need to put effort in. Be that friendships, relationships, business, whatever it is. You need a two-way thing going on. And too many people are willing to settle for a one-way thing. And, I'm just not doing that. I don't need to. I'm not going to. And I just want better for myself and I want better for others. And the fake economy we created, everything is fake, nothing is real. We just got to get rid of that. It's crazy. We got kids smashing their face with a hammer so they can have a more masculine jawline or something. How on earth did we get here? As a society, how did we get to this place? And how do we get our way out of it? And it's just like, you dig into these different topics or items and you realize that it's really nobody's fault at all, that we've really been fed a bad script, that men and women were intentionally made unattractive to each other, that women were encouraged to take on masculine qualities, where men were intentionally encouraged to take on feminine traits. And, your divorce rate skyrockets. It's really that simple. It's that simple. And you hear all the pop psychology. You gotta be emotionally available. You know what? What the heck does that mean? Better advice is, to provide emotional containment for your woman. To be able to hold it down, be there for her, help her regulate her nervous system so she can turn her brain off and have peace the same way you do. That's what she really wants. She wants peace the way you got peace. But if you don't do your job as a man and help her, how can she have that? And this whole thing about I don't need to understand men, I don't need to understand women is really awful. If you grew up before technology, we all tried to understand each other and give each other respect. This whole one gender's a subhuman, that's got to go. That's not going to work out for anybody. We're all made in the image of God, and because of that, we do deserve a certain level of respect for being made in His image. This I'm better than you, or this one's pretty or this one's not. And it's just dumb. It's really stupid. I don't think that way. I think everybody deserves respect. I treat everybody the same. And it's like, it seems like such a foreign concept, you know? We really got to like get back to basics. We got to get back to the way things were before everybody just got a gassed up ego because of social. We got to be humble, learn how to be kind, treat each other right. Not nice, but be kind. You don't need to be a doormat for anybody. Somebody's being a giant jerk, let them know. Hey, I don't care for that. I think you're an a-hole. Tell them that right to their face. You know? If somebody's being a grifter, ripping people off, tell them that. You're just a giant grifter. Goes for pastors too. You guys grift the hardest. You know, just do what the book says. Obey Christ. Make disciples. Make people who are like him. That's what it says in the whole book, from Genesis to Matthew. God wants to fill the earth with people in his likeness, people like him, with his morals, with his character traits. And what does Jesus say? Make disciples, make people like me. Sums it all up. Love God, love each other. And all the different lessons in the Bible are how you get there. You don't just like read some words on a page and just have it go out of your mind or memorize some Bible words to show how smart you are. You actually need to internalize that stuff and live it out. That's how we become humble. It's how we become kind. You know, it's not optional. The Western church treats it like an option. It's not optional. It's a commandment. That means you need to be humble. Jesus is the boss. You're subordinate. And that's a big problem we have with this Western Christianity thing, is that it's like a church-tainment type of thing. We don't really tell anybody any truth. We lie to people, and we let people struggle in their life and their relationships, and you get a 50% divorce rate. You know, maybe we can do better. Maybe we can just get back to basics, read the book, do what it says, do the 10 Commandments, you know, have some like, guardrails for our life so we don't end up in a ditch all the time. This whole accepting the minimum standard, or, you know, if you want somebody attractive who can cheat, then you just got to put up with it if you're a woman. That's crazy. It's crazy talk. You know, be an adult. Talk about what the heck you want from the other person. If the other person is never willing to, you know, be clear, then just move on. That's it. That's all there is to it. They're not able to be an adult. Move on, man or woman. You know, that's just the where it is. Like this whole situationship, that's kind of become the new marriage now. That's kind of sad because people get their heart broken. People's lives get messed up. You end up with all these kids who don't have a mom and dad that loves each other. It's a problem. You know, I could understand why people do it. I'm not advocating for people to do it, but whatever you do, have goodwill. Go in right. Go in with good intentions for the other person. Like this whole marriage thing is this whole marriage contract thing anyway isn't even in the Bible. You know, anytime you link up, you're married in God's eyes, as far as he's concerned anyway. So it's like, you know, the idea that there is traditional marriage just isn't true. We don't have that anymore because everybody's been with somebody. Everybody's been with somebody's husband or wife by the time they get married. So, like, arguing about all of this nonsense is probably not productive. It'd be better if you just have goodwill towards others. You know, here I am. This is what I'm about. And that's it. And just let it go with that. People don't want it. That's fine. You know, have goodwill. Care about other people. Be a better person. Stop worrying about all this stuff. It doesn't really matter. And I think if you just get the basics right, the other things will fall into place. And we don't really have to accept this whole modernity is erasing love narrative. We can build the future that we want to have. So, those are my thoughts. Hope you have a good night.